Huh. Uh-oh.
Not sure if it's running.
It is! Okay.
Warming up.
But our count, our meter is not working on Lucy. Oh boy. That was quite the Monday.
Yep.
So just resharing links on social. Our usual self-promotion once the links are live.
Mm-hmm. Okay, YouTube is running.
I tagged you in Facebook.
Facebook is running. Hey, Mitch.
Oh, that's why I'm not signed into board team. Wow, there's an L5R variant of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
Hey, Karen.
Ooh. Yung Monday na parang last Monday of the month. Not that bad, but it was still a quite the intense Monday. Yeah, I'm gonna double check the. Isn't it my guide cards?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say it on the guide card either. Where did we get that phrase?
Guess we made it up.
Oh my god.
Because I can't find it anywhere online later. How strange.
How strange.
How strange.
Collective false memory moment.
Mandela effect moment.
Oh my gosh. Wow, so we don't know how many people are watching just by looking here. So I'll have to rely on Toby's monitor feed to kind of guess how many people join.
No, doesn't seem to be that many, but that's okay.
It's Monday, so
It's
yeah.
Monday. It's about board games, and we don't really expect that many people to show up. And if you're lucky, you'll find the egg.
Toby's developed a bit of an odd relationship with the egg already. You're too amused by it. It's just a giant plastic egg. Hiya.
Oh boy, but it's been
Ubus na yung sugar cookies? No, Toby thankfully has not finished all the cookies.
I'm only eating one per day.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I said thankfully you haven't finished all the cookies.
Ah, you trained me not to reduce my sugar.
Good dog.
So a bag of curly tops that I usually finish in one sitting lasts me now what?
Months.
I still eat a lot of ice cream,
Yes, you do.
but not as much as before.
It's still it's enough that I get to periodically donate containers to your mother to free up space.
Yeah, but that used to be like 2 of them a week.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you would get the bigger ones, period, and not these half-gallon
And
things.
then I'd get ano pa, sundaes. But
Mm-mm.
now I think I should just stock up on chocolate syrup.
Kasi,
Para I don't need to buy sundaes.
you're still gonna buy Sundays.
We'll see if we need ice.
Okay, let's just.
Hey, Mai. I guess we might as well start because it's a Monday and Mondays tend to be heavy. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random
And
live.
if it's not your first time here, you probably saw the egg. Thank you so much for joining us again. Tonight's episode, our 171st episode, is another game because it's Monday, and every Monday we try to cover a game. This game is a game by Yasushi Kuroda, or in the title you'll see designed by Kuro, and the game is known as
Well,
Rent a Hero.
when we bought the game, it was called Seventh Hero. But now, if you look up on Board Game Geek, it's called Rent the Hero.
So the official flow is this.
yes.
It was a Japanese indie game by Kuro,
Okay.
originally called, of course, Japanese title, but it translates to Legend of the Seven Heroes.
Okay, that's fine.
Then it gets licensed to AEG, and it was released under the name Seventh Hero.
Yes.
But then it was sub-licensed by AEG to Yellow, which then changed the art and released the game under the title Hero Allure, which was the French edition, which was then licensed back to AEG under the name Seven, Rent a Hero.
And then, but Rent the Hero seems to have become the official name of the game now because it is the Board Game Geek entry.
Yes.
So it's confusing. And it became Rent a Hero sometime in 2016, I think, when it was originally released as Seventh Hero in 2014. But I think it reflects that period of time where AEG was gobbling up Japanese card games left and right. Because wasn't it? I know, but well, game companies were gobbling up card games left and right. Because he already had what's this? Seiji Kanai's Love Letter purchased. No, because AEG also, right? AEG, Alderac Entertainment. Yeah, so they got AEG, they got Love Letter, and then reskinned it. So same thing. And what's funny about this card game, because it is a card game, is that this big box edition, which is like about the size of the box of Kodama or things of that nature, is a lie. Because it's just a pack of cards in the middle. To be fair, this is not the original release of AEG. There is a small box edition, as they call it, which fits better. So, Toby, what is Seventh Hero?
So Seventh Hero is a card game with 77 cards, and that divides into 11 copies of each hero. The game is a hand management game where you try to collect sets. And the sets you want to collect are 6 of the 7 heroes on a tableau in front of you. And for some reason, Rocky and I really believe and remember that we read somehow, somewhere, that the reason you collect 6 heroes is because
the seventh hero is you.
But that's not on the manual.
It's not in the manual. It's not, in the guide
box.
card.
It's
like,
not in the Board Game Geek entry.
And I think we have taught this game to players repeatedly saying, and the seventh hero is you.
So we don't know where it comes from. And we don't know why we thought of it.
But I guess, but to be fair, it is the implication, because you only the object of the game is one of the ways to win is if you collect the 6 different heroes, then shablam, you win the game. So why 6 with a game with 7? Because you're the 7th hero.
So Yellow or AEG or Kuroda, if you like to use the tagline, feel free to.
And the seventh hero is
Is you.
you. So,
So the game, as mentioned, has 77 cards, and the cards are all beautifully illustrated.
see, Mike confirms. We also told her the same thing when we taught the game.
Right? So they're all there. That's all cards. Each card comes with a specific format. You basically have the artwork on the central part of the card. You have the number in the top left, yeah, top left corner of the card.
Darn
You
mirror.
have the name of the role, but then at the bottom, you have what we call the quests. Because the cards are used two ways in the game. When the cards are placed in front of you as part of the tableau, they represent the heroes. And you want to have one of each hero. If you end up with a hero you already have, then that was the doppelganger.
That is such a weird
And
angle
that
to
has
this game.
both cards removed from your tableau.
They kill each other in a dramatic fight.
But then the same cards are used when it's not as heroes but as quests, and that's the lower part of the card. Each one has interesting flavor text such as "Ancient Worm Awakens" or "Maleficent Titan Rampages" or "Curse of the Wasteland Hounds." And as evocative as those titles
Wow,
are,
I don't even remember these titles because you just look and see that, oh, odds.
they,
You know?
they basically have a mechanical effect written down at the bottom, which then affects the active player's turn. For example, Ancient Worm Awakens reads, "The needed hero must have a number of 5 or higher." And that means when a hero card is brought around to circle around everyone else, and you want it to end up back with you, that hero must have a number of 5 or higher. Because the basic idea is there are 7 types of heroes in the world. All players are hoping to gather the 6 heroes to save the day.
Because the seventh hero is you.
But the active player starts the turn by drawing a card, reading out the quest. In this case,
Well, discarding a card technically.
it must be a 5 or higher hero. Then from their hand of hero cards, they must choose which one they send on that quest.
Now, the funny thing is, the cards in your hand are not the cards in your tableau. In fact, you will never just play a card from your hand into your tableau. It must first become what is known as the wandering hero.
So in this case, I have 2 ones, a 7 and a 6. The ones, therefore, cannot be part of the quest because they are not 5 or higher. Of the 7 and 6, I would choose one of them, then play it face down as the wandering hero. The wandering hero then moves from player to player. And when it moves to a player, that player must decide, do they welcome that wandering hero to join them, or do they send them away? If they welcome the card, they open it. And if the card is a unique card and they don't have it in the tableau yet,
Congratulations, you
they
recruited a
gain
hero.
which brings them one step closer to winning. If it matches something they already have,
Double
doppelganger!
dare!
And both cards are destroyed. But then if that player chooses to pass, the wandering hero moves on to the next player and the next player, and it will only go back to the active player if everyone else passed.
And one of the reasons why we got this game, apart from, ooh, generic fantasy element, Japanese designer, sounds interesting, was the fact that the game supports 5 players.
Mhm.
For a card game, that's a rare thing. We've talked about this many times on the show, how most tabletop games, especially card games, max out at 4 players. And having a 5th player for something this small, well, except for the box, is super great. So, like, if we converted this into a bag, into a pouch game, then we could carry it around and play 7th hero wherever and support up to 5 players. So that was kind of quaint. And the art is weird. The art obviously uses photo references to some degree. It's evocative of different mythology things. Like some look very Greek mythology, some look very Lord of the Rings. So you look at that, not Legolas on the hood, on the cover, and then generic magical woman, all these things, and Gandalf. It really looks like Gandalf.
Now, part of the game is something that we encountered first, and not necessarily was the first one to do it in Love Letter, is that when cards are played, they have specific effects.
Yes.
And each specific effect is something you will either want to have in your tableau or want to have as part of your options later on to mess up other people. For example, card number one is the Shield Maiden. And the Shield Maiden basically allows you to block anyone else's attempt to use a card.
And it's funny how the shield maiden, you can barely see her
Yeah.
shield. It's like she's like a spear maiden, really.
Card number two, the Worm Slayer, which is again odd because when the Ancient Worm awakens, only five or higher can go out. Um, Card number two, the Worm Slayer, allows you to tap the card to discard a Wandering Hero. Oh, sorry, not tap because that's a copyrighted term.
Yeah, we just
Activate the
the cards.
In order to
Which,
discard a
for
Wandering Hero.
convenience, we moved to an angle.
This is a move that is very powerful if you realize someone is about to complete their tableau of six. You tap
Or
it, destroy.
Or if you play the wandering hero that you know is a doppelganger for you and it
Mhm.
comes back, then you make your your worm slayer kill it before it gets to you.
Card number three is the
Who
Chieftain.
really looks like Gandalf.
And the Chieftain basically allows you to renew another hero's ability. So you basically unactivate it and allow them to use it again.
Yeah, because all hero abilities are one-time things.
Card number four is the Outcast. And the Outcast basically has you choose another player, and that player cannot choose to accept the Wandering Hero that round.
It's like the voice in Dune, you know, it's like when you mess up another player's abilities.
Card number five is the Oracle. And the Oracle basically, when activated, allows you to peek at the Wandering Hero, which gives you information others would not have.
Yeah, whether or not you decide to get the wandering hero.
Card number six is the Tail Weaver. And the Tail Weaver allows the player to send any hero, regardless of the quest.
Which kind of messes you up because now you no longer have an idea of who is wandering around.
And then card number seven, which at first we felt was the most useless power, allows you to draw two cards in your hand. But then we later realized the versatility of the power. It can speed up the game by bringing the end game sooner. It allows you to have more cards to choose from when you need to. It's quite a versatile move.
Oh yeah, because that's the other sort of win condition. That if the deck runs out, then and no one has reached 6 heroes, then you'll just compare who has the most.
Yes.
And there's a possibility of still winning that way.
Now, the different kind of quests, again, are written in the cards. And moving backwards, card number seven is Curse of the Wasteland Hounds. The needed hero is the number of players or higher.
Which is either very generous or very painful,
And-
depending on number of
And
players.
the minimum number of players is 3. The other one is Crypt Crawlers Emerge. The needed hero is the number of players or lower. Then we have Affliction of the Unseen Destroyer. The needed hero must be an even number. Servants of the Blood Shadow. The needed hero must be an odd number.
Of course.
Domination of the Shadow Lord. The needed hero is 3 to 5. Ancient Worm Awakens. The needed hero is 5 or higher. And lastly, Shield Maiden. The needed hero is 3 or lower. So as you can see, depending on the number of players, some quests might be identical. But at the same time, since you know that card was discarded for the quest, if you're paying attention, you also know how many of that hero is left in the deck.
Card counting is a very possible strategy. You know that there are 11 of each card, but still, it's in all reality, it's harder to keep track.
Hey, Mina.
And you have to note that how the game burns through cards because every turn, the active player will discard the top card of the deck in order to get a
generate
quest. So that's one card lost, and then you play out a wandering hero from
That's
your
2
hand.
cards
So
lost.
that's already 2 cards in play. And then if you use Strider, then you'll take 2 more cards, and it just goes around and
And
around.
then at
and
the end of
around.
the round, you draw a card.
Yes.
So we're looking at a movement of 3 cards every round. And with a deck of 77, if it's a 5-player game, that's 15 cards gone in the first round.
Yeah. Cycle of players.
Mhm.
So your cards will move quite quickly. So okay, this isn't the best game in the world. I will admit. It was quaint. It's a quaint game. That's always how I'll describe it. It is unique in its ability to support up to 5 players. The art while weird, is actually not bad. I mean, it's very evocative art.
Mm-mm.
The card design is okay. I mean, like there's a fair amount of text squeezed into the top and the bottom of the card,
Mm-mm.
because they dedicate so much to the card to the hero art, and it's interesting, especially if you compare like things like the manual. Um,
Oh, sorry.
they're really big art pieces.
We have the small box.
Hmm? No, the small box is horizontal. That's the small box.
Are you sure?
Because big box is portrait.
Okay.
I've been looking at I look at this page every now and then because okay, what bothered me the first time was uh when I was looking for Seventh Hero on Board Game Geek to track a play, and then Rent a Hero came up. I'm like, why? I don't own Rent a Hero. And then when I looked at versions of the game, that's the only time I saw like, oh my god, we do own Rent a Hero. How confusing.
So Rent a Hero has the more cartoony art style. Seventh Hero has the more painted art style. But then the original one, which was
Anime.
very anime, had a very cartoony art style as well. So it wasn't like the Senshi Kanai games that had a stylistic art style I like.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
was actually okay with this art style.
Yeah. And was like a game that we didn't know anything about. We saw it na naman on display at Paradigm, Games of
Yes.
Paradigm in Singapore. And then it felt like, okay, why not? Let's take a shot. It was pretty affordable. See, it's a 24, we have the 2014 big
Mhm.
edition. And it still plays well. I mean, like, again, it's not the most challenging game. There's a high amount of randomness at play because sometimes your opening hand of cards is just weird, and then like
Mhm.
it's hard to figure out a strategy from there. But then again, um, playing against like knowing what the quest is, knowing what heroes are in play, and then kind of going from there does give you a degree of choice and strategy that helps things along. And then so it's not like super random in that sense. My in my experience, I'm always watching what heroes the active player has in front of him in his tableau because you see if the wandering hero gets back to the active hero, then they have no choice and
But
they
to claim
must
it,
accept it
unless they can kill it.
with a worm slayer.
Mhm.
So there is that in general, there's always a bigger probability, especially in the mid to late game, where it's rare that the active player will choose to play a hero that
Mhm.
they cannot recruit themselves,
Mhm.
because just in case it gets all the way back, you have to make sure that you can still take it. But then again, that's it's a strategic discussion point because others may bank on that entirely and just throw out heroes to mess others up. I've done that a few times and hoping to like trigger the doppelganger moment so that players lose heroes.
Mhm.
It has mixed degree of success. What else, Toby?
Um, it's a game that has quick fun. Strategy wise, you can try to read other players. You could time using the tail weaver to send a card that still matches the quest just to you know manipulate things and catch your opponents off guard. But since a lot of it is really luck, um, it's not so bad when you consider that the games don't last too long. They're quick to end. You can easily start a new one quickly. Um, Not the most strategic of games, definitely more lighthearted. And if you are the type to do so, there are a lot of reskins that are on Board Game Geek. There's versions that are based on Lord of the Rings, versions based on Persona. But then there's also the more formal ones, which have I forgot which one it was.
I saw L5R. I saw
Yeah,
Doomtown.
L5R and Doomtown, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So that was surprising when AEG was trying to get the most of the games in their inventory. Man, remember everybody was talking about Doomtown once upon a time because it was also
Mm-hmm.
a deck builder thing, and then we never got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But yeah, so this is a good warm up game. It's a good bridge game between games. Like we tend to throw out Seventh Hero in between heavier strategy ones.
Hmm.
I really feel like we would invest in moving it to a smaller box because this box is huge for just a set of cards, which in modern AEG parlance, they probably sell it in a blister pack in a bag.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, this was a packaging born from the Shelf Space Wars.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely an effort to like attract more attention. Funnily, I have never seen Rent a Hero on the shelf.
Mm.
And then Seventh Hero also we just don't see it a lot. I mean, we saw it mainly in Singapore.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it a lot here. Um, but it's like it's still cute. And then I'll admit, like I wouldn't go out of my way to find it. But if you bump into it in the secondary market, it and at a good price that you're comfortable
Hmm.
with, it's a cute little addition to your library.
And then the game system is simple enough that if you want to play it with family members, they can completely ignore the artwork and just focus on, okay, pag ito, dapat gantong numbers, and it would still work.
Yeah, I think that's really it. That and hence it borders on gateway, but then I still like wouldn't recommend it as a
Mm.
gateway game only because of the bigger random factor, and then it
Yes.
could be a little frustrating for some. And the whole wandering hero mechanic is a little more advanced than what I'd like for a gateway game.
Mm.
It's not a bad mechanic. It's just a little confusing in the beginning because it's like I play this card and then it leaves me and takes a tour of the table before it may come back to me. So
Hmm.
that's like a weird thing to wrap my head around. Now, looking at Board Game Geek though, this game was created by a designer named Kuro, and oh my god, he has like 4 pages worth of games
Hmm.
where he is the designer. So it's that I feel like it's that classic like oh my god when you find out these Japanese designers have been making so many card games like for years and years and years, and you don't hear a lot about them outside of Japan because of course these games are often in language, and we only get to see them when people like AEG repurchase them and reskin them. It's like
Yes.
it's like Seiji Kanai games, and like there are so many Seiji Kanai games. But what's funny about Kuro is like this is the only Kuro game I've encountered. And
Yeah,
look,
I don't
right
recognize the
when
other
you
side
skim
of it.
through the list, it's like what are these things? They are so prevalent in creating games, and then we haven't really encountered any of them, which is kind of sad. Whereas Seiji Kanai games, we actually own like 3 or 4 now
Mm.
because we have Love Letter, we have uh, Say Bye to the Villains,
Mm-mm.
Chronicle,
Mm-mm.
and then Lost Legacy now. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So fun stuff. But as much as this game is like kind of quirky, it's cute, and we wanted to feature this game today because the end of the week we should have probably introduced this, but the end of the week is Araw ng Kagitingan or the Day of Valor or Bataan Day, depending on how you prefer to
Mhm.
talk about the holiday.
So in many ways, this week is themed to have heroism,
Heroes.
courage, bravery, and anything else in between.
But this introduction for the episode got totally derailed because I was just trying to double check in the manual where the part says, "And the seventh hero is you,"
The egg.
and it didn't, and it wasn't an egg.
Yeah, it's so strange. I really wonder where we got that.
I know, right?
I think you just came up with
Did
it,
I just
and
because
we just
because
like
like
the
why
tagline
6
to it.
heroes? And then
It's probably the
because
same as
and the seventh hero
Magic
is you.
Whenever we all roll,
We could probably
it could
have
be something
an
like that.
episode about they're not even house rules. Well, they sort of are, but
Mhm.
um,
Or like
what do you call these
when we played
things?
Kanban, we have all this banter on Sandra being annoying because she's showing up again, and oh my god, it's Sandra, that bitch. And,
So yeah, game quirks. Game. I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing.
and then we have the malformed sheep of Lowlands who has his own stories whenever he shows up.
Yeah, and that you try to claim him all the time, and you get very upset when other people somehow get the half sheep, which means you sold him
And then we have the dragon,
in Princess and
which is the
Carcassonne.
destroyer of dreams. That's never listed anywhere, but we call it that.
It works, yeah, yeah. So I mean, like all of our board game experiences give us a share of quirky things. Mitch is like, we haven't played this. Yeah, I only brought it to one FGTC game
Mm.
night ever, and it was I think one of our first game nights at Mina's office. So, one of those.
Yeah, the Yoshi card in
The
Terraforming
Yoshi
Mars.
Garden
Yes.
Terraforming, which is pets, and it's the perfect card, guys.
Mm.
Even though the rest of my card strategy has nothing to do with cities, I am very loath to give up pets when I see it. And it's so nice because it gathers animals. Animals cannot be removed from the card.
The bears
So
can't eat
it
them.
blocks Toby because he's always gonna eat my cube
Hey, I
animals.
don't eat your animals.
It's like if I develop microbes, suddenly you have ants. If I develop, if I have a lot of plants, suddenly you have an herbivore. And then if I like have if I get fish, you'll have bears. It's like what? What? Why? Why always eating?
Egg. Yeah. What else? What else can we say about this game? It's fun. It's okay. It's definitely still in our collection. We haven't given up on it.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um,
still gets more plays than things like Cosmic Encounter, which is still like a good game, but it is a big, heavy game
mm.
and not like a fun, heavy game. I mean, like if you get what I mean, there are some games that the heavy works.
Does it need a remake? I don't think so. Does it need expansions? I don't
No,
believe so.
it's not in the box. I
Mm.
double checked. I double triple check. It really doesn't say it in the box. Where does it say the seventh hero is you?
Although there was a lot of investment in this rebranding, it's not just an artwork change because if you look at the manual, they actually have all these fiction
Yeah, there's a story.
regarding the
But
characters
again,
behind
it's
the.
it's from that point in AEG's life where they were really trying to like sell us on the story because that's when Love Letter became part of Tempest,
Mm-mm.
and then the whole Tempest backstory to games. While Love Letter has nothing to do with games like Dominare or Canalis, but they're all set in the same game
And you
world.
see characters
You see
from
the
each
same
one.
character art repeated in some cases, but then they have different stories, and
Mhm.
it's cute. I mean, I appreciate that effort. It was like pseudo legacying things without like legacy mechanics. It was building a larger story, and then I wonder if they were heading in that direction here because they commissioned some pretty interesting art for this game. Um, which again I keep stressing is like even just the ones in the box because the card art is only like this sliver, but then the box gets to show more, and thus the shield maiden finally makes sense on the box because there's her shield. Because in her card art, it's like she's just holding a dagger, and like why is she a shield maiden? Oh my god. Seventh hero, a game by Kuro. Questions from the group? Probably not. It's okay. And hey, our counter reappeared.
Yeah,
So we know that we have pretty much three people, which is
I guess the doppelganger's gone.
Mitch, and
So
Mike.
yeah, that
Our
is seventh
M's.
hero. The prophecy warned us of the return of Madoc the Corruptor and of his dark hand stretching once more over the land. It also speaks of seven heroes bound by destiny to defeat him. Yeah.
That's a fun job. Whoever has to write like flavor like this. Like you don't design games. You just write flavor when a game is reskinned and decide how to. Because clearly the art came like from different people. It didn't quite convert. I mean, like I mean, I'm sure it's one artist, but then like the inspirations are like all over the place. It's like I don't know what was going on with with the planned art. Do the outro. You are the seventh hero. Clearly, because right, if you collect 6 heroes,
Then the seventh hero
is
is you.
you. It's so dramatic. Don't you like that? I like that.
That's a loss they didn't have that year.
I know, right? And I think, but the more I think about it, it does sound like something that we just said out loud because it's like, oh, that's why it's 6 hero. It's that realization. But it's sad that the game does not codify that anywhere. It stresses there are 7 heroes. It reminds you there are 77 cards. and then it tells you you need 6 heroes to win.
Hmm.
And you're like, why? What happened to the seventh?
Yeah, that's where we probably formed it when we were thinking of
The
it.
seventh hero is you.
But it just really feels like we read it somewhere.
I
It's so
really
odd.
feel that that's what we read. It wasn't even at the store, I don't
And
think.
it's not. I don't think it's from like a YouTube review because we got this
We got
because we saw
this
it on display.
on its own. It
Yeah.
was just like, or I think you could even it wasn't even both of us. I think it was just me.
Yeah.
It was one of my work trips, and then like this looks quaint, and like
Mm.
okay, let's try it. Let's get seventh hero because it was cheap. So yeah, so I'm just amused that we have this game that has been licensed and relicensed a few times and no longer exists in this form.
Mhm.
So that makes it indirectly rare. And now we just need to find a copy where it says the seventh hero is you.
Or do it ourselves. Okay, that is it. I believe we've covered everything we can with this game. I doubt doppelgangers will show up anytime soon, but we had a lot of fun and we hope you'll join us again next time.
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can also follow us on Twitter, Altovino Shade, RG Suniko.
You could also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. Let us know what you thought about the game. Would you like it in this fantasy skinning? Or would you actually look for Rent a Hero and see the comedic hijinks? I'm curious about how that manual is written and like what's the explanation for this hero going around. But yeah, and then of course be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride.
I was about to say seventh hero.
No,
Thanks for watching.
this is not the seventh hero because the seventh hero is
Is you.
you. Good night, everyone.